And the Oscar goes to...
I think it's safe to say no other film I've watched for this series has left me as divided as You Can't Take It With You. On one hand, most of it wasn't engaging or funny enough to warrant much praise, but on the other, there are some fantastic moments in the last 45 minutes that are pushing me to give this 1938 Frank Capra film a recommendation. You Can't Take It With You stars two well-known Capra actors, Lionel Barrymore and James Stewart, the latter making his first appearance in a Capra movie, and the former playing a character very much against expectations if you've only seen him in the film Capra is probably best known for, It's a Wonderful Life. In today's picture, the two actors play leading roles in a story based off a 1936 Pulitzer Prize-winning play by the same name, written by George S. Kaufman and Moss Hart. It's a comedy about Tony Kirby, played by James Stewart, son of wealthy businessman Anthony P. Kirby, played by Edward Arnold, and his engagement to Alice Sycamore, played by Jean Arthur. The engagement is seen as a mistake by Tony's parents, who see Alice, a lowly secretary, as too meager in class for their son. Alice's situation is not helped by her home life, which is made up of a plethora of loving and supportive but also eccentric characters, such as her father who likes to make fireworks in the basement, her mother who writes plays, her sister who practices ballet in the middle of the living room, and her kindly carefree grandfather, played by Lionel Barrymore, who's friends with everyone in town and hasn't paid his income taxes in 25 years. Further friction is caused when Arnold's character finds out that Alice's grandfather, who refuses to sell his house, is the one preventing him from buying a 12-block section of the city that will help a highly important merger go through. Based off that synopsis, it may sound like a lot is going on. There isn't. There's a lot of setup and establishing for the different characters and storylines, but not a whole lot of actual plot progression until the hour and 15-minute mark. The story is actually pretty simple and, at times, seems stretched thin. But maybe that's a good thing. There's nothing wrong with the simple plots, and the characters and situations presented in that first hour and a bit are lovable and fun, if lacking the strong writing and jokes that made It Happen One Night as hilarious and great as it was.
Mr. Vanderhoff, all I know is you haven't paid an income tax, and you've got to pay it.
What was that?
I said you've got to pay it!
You've got to show me.
We don't have to show you, I just told you. Who's going to pay for all those buildings down in Washington and interstate commerce and the Constitution?
The Constitution's been paid for years ago. And as for interstate commerce, what is interstate commerce anyway?
There are 48 states, see? And if it weren't for interstate commerce, nothing could go from one state to another, see?
Well, why not? Have they got fences?
Capra also uses that time to his advantage by discussing some of the movie's themes. One night, while Tony and Alice are having a night out on the town, they sit on a park bench and muse about life and happiness. Tony mentions the dreams he had as a young man and how part of him still wishes to fulfill those dreams, life having gotten in the way of it all. This timeless message hits home for me particularly. As I struggle to get a job I love in my post-college life, I've become aware of all the people who don't pursue what makes them happy and instead end up in hapless jobs for the rest of their lives. So when this film says, do what makes you happy and not what makes you wealthy, it means a lot to me. But these types of conversations just reminded me of the lack of a sufficient plot up to that point. Once a disastrous dinner date between the two families is ended by Kirby Sr. being tossed on the ground via a wrestling move, the arrival of some police officers, and the igniting of enough fireworks to set the whole neighborhood ablaze, the movie really gets going. The jokes, which hadn't quite been hitting their marks earlier, improve, the story starts to move along, and Capra's wonderfully sentimental moments come in greater abundance. There's even more exploration of the themes. What I feel may be a bit lost in all these heartwarming and humorous scenes are the great understated performances by Stewart and Arnold, who get a real chance to shine in the later half of the picture. Case in point is a little scene near the end that discusses the relationship between the father and son. It's a touchingly real scene that fleshes out the two men, adds some warmth to their relationship, and prevents Anthony P. Kirby from being just another stuck-up rich father that we've seen in countless other movies.
I don't want any part of this, Dad. I never did.
You can't do
this after all the plans
Dad,
I've
if I
made
can
for
just
you.
make you understand this. I think this business is great. It's good for you because you like it. I don't. And I never will. Oh, I've tried to talk to you so many times about it, but I just couldn't get it out. I used to be able to talk to you, Dad. But lately...
Scenes like that are all the more appropriate when you consider the picture is more about Kirby Sr. and his son than it is Lionel Barrymore's character. Tony, Kirby Sr., and, to a smaller extent, Alice are the ones who grow in the movie, not Barrymore's endearingly optimistic grandfather character. Alice learns to be herself no matter what, and the other two find out what they need to do to be truly happy. It's all pretty sappy stuff, but in the hands of Capra, it's meaningful. And it's this Capra charm that saves the movie. A movie that has enough of the good cheer and optimism that people have come to expect from Capra's work, that by the end of the last reel, you can forgive the film's shortcomings. You can forgive the film's slow start and jokes that fall flat. Instead, you think about the great time you had with these characters, and how you want to spend more time with these lovely people that remind you of the goodness in the world. You want to watch the whole movie again and revel in the sheer delight that is Capra and his magic.